G'day people, I'm Sharyn. Welcome to my channel. A few weeks ago I made a tote bag out of my Quilt As You Go squares, and I explained how I made it, how I lined it, how I put a pocket in there. A bag that is turned upside down becomes a cover. And today I wanted to show you a couple of the covers that I've made. First, let's have a look at this sewing machine cover. It's for my Janome Memorycraft 10,000, and I've made it to go over the hard cover of the machine. It's quite tight fitting around the bottom. I made it 3 squares of 14 centimeters each wide, 2 high and 2 deep. So to go from front to back, I need 18 squares and I need 4 on each side. So this particular cover needed 26 squares, but that didn't actually take it down low enough for when it's got the cover on the machine. So I also did 10 of these pieces of sashing around the edge to give it a little bit of extra length. It's quite tight fitting. To get the size of something like this right, you've got a few options. You can use sashings, you can use different size squares. So if this was all done with 17 centimeter squares, it would be quite a deal bigger. You could do it with different sized cutting around the edge of the squares in order to get the right size for your machine. You've probably noticed by now that there's a design here which is actually of the machine that this cover is for. I put the MC 10,000 on there just using the alphabets that are in the machine, that are built into the machine, but that picture was something that was produced by Sunset Designs or Stitcher Ties, both of which are related to Trevor Conkergood. I can't find any connections to them now, as into the designs, but there is a possibility that he has other designs like this around. In fact, I know there were some of different machines. Putting this together was put together exactly the same way that the tote bag was. It's just I had different numbers of squares and I didn't line it. I could have, but I didn't. So on the inside, we've just got the zigzag over the joins. But considering all it's for is as a cover on the machine, it doesn't need the inside of it to be lined if I don't want to. So there's how I can make a cover for my machine. The more weirdly shaped your machine is, the harder it is to make a cover sit well. Sometimes all you want to do is to make something that goes from front to back and not put the sides on it. You may prefer to cover your machine with what amounts to a little wall hanging. It doesn't really matter, but it is really good to try and keep the dust off your machine rather than trying to get it out after it's got in there. It is particularly important to cover your overlockers because around the back of them where the thread sits, that area is actually quite difficult and there's lots of little bits and pieces in there. It's easier to keep the dust off them than to let them get dusty and then try and clean it off. Here is the cover I made for my overlocker or serger, and you can see this one's actually got a hole in the top of it so that I can put my hand in to get the handle that's at the back of the machine there. A lot of people don't actually know that these machines have a place for your fingers to go into so that you can pick them up. Because this machine is a bit of an odd shape, I did 2 by 2 squares on the front and the back, but on the side I did some sashing, then some squares, and then some more sashing. That gave me a position to put that hole in the top, and I just bound those edges. So that's the place where my hand can go in to get to that handle. Because overlockers are not cubic, they're a bit more difficult to make covers for. This one you can see it's actually getting pulled around a bit because the machine is wider here than it is here, and it gets pulled to the back on that side. But it still works, keeps the dust off it. In all cases, the method I use for joining these things together, take my blocks that are already quilted, butt them up together and zigzag over that join. I can then cover that join with braid or ribbon or tape or any number of other things. That's all just part of the fun, but because they're zigzagged together, it's nice and easy. So it's a really good project for beginners to start to learn how to do top stitching and try and get it even on either side of the tape. I probably should make a cover for my DC 3050. I've got plenty of fabric, it's not an issue, and I could make it to either match my sewing room or maybe to be incredibly different to my sewing room. Come to think of it, I've got so much fabric here, I could probably make dust covers for my house, maybe even seasonally. See you next time.